Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is J-Bo here. And a previous video that I uploaded had a squib fire that we had in this handgun. Currently, right now, there is a bullet lodged in the barrel because I had fired it and it made a poof sound, and I knew it did not fire the way it should. So whenever that happens, as described in the other video, stop shooting immediately as soon as something is different. Don't fire another shot behind it thinking, well, it misfired, I'll shoot another one to make sure it fires properly. That's not what you do with guns. Stop firing when something's wrong. Then what you do is you wait 30 seconds to a minute, pointed safely downstream, downrange, or downstream, and you just wait for it. And after about 30 seconds, it's probably not going to fire. So then you can safely, after you have removed the shells, take your cylinder out. It's empty, there's no shells in it. And we get the cylinder pin over here. So now what I had done was, when I was shooting, I had done this same thing. And there's no cylinder or round in here, so it's not going to fire if you look down the barrel. And if you look down, there's no daylight on the other end. That means you have a bullet stuck in there. Well, how are we going to get it out? Typically, what you would want to do is come in from this way with a tool and finish pushing it out. It'll kind of like follow the rifling and it'll just fall out onto the table. But since I cannot get in there because this is a single action revolver, I just cannot get in there to do that. So we're going to go the back way, backwards to the front. And it's a soft lead round. And this is the problem box I have with Federal Range Pack. And this is usually very good ammo for target shooting. Very reliable, haven't had any problems previously. But this batch is rubbish. So I don't know if Federal is just trying to keep up with the demand that's going on and some of this stuff is slipping through. But what I should do is send them that lot number information and tell them that it's bad. So I shoot like 6 rounds of this. I'll have one that makes a poof sound and still fires weakly. And I'll have other ones that won't fire at all, and they all have really good hammer strikes. So I know it's not the ammo because I shoot other ammo in the same gun and it's perfectly fine. Really good hammer strikes. So it's one of those things that is, well, it's just the ammo. Sometimes that happens. So I will still got a ton of this left too, you know, so it's like 80 bucks now for one of these. So anyways, we'll figure that out. But right now we have to get the bullet out of the barrel. How are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to use a cleaning rod that comes in a cleaning kit. And there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can use one of these attachments to screw this on. Well, this one's actually one that I kept that is had snapped off, but I'm going to use it in tandem with this one. So you can either use the tool that you would push the patch through when you're cleaning, which I use a bore snake, so I don't even use these anymore, really, unless it's really, really dirty with lead buildup. I will go through it with wire brushes in those circumstances for 22s. So what I'm going to do is you want to make sure you use brass, obviously, so you don't damage the rifling in the barrel. And what we're going to do is I'm going to make sure I have enough length. I'm going to screw these two together. And basically, I'm just going to use this as a push rod, using this threaded end that is a soft brass. And I'm going to come down this way, inside there. And what'll happen is it's going to push the bullet backwards out, and it should fall out. So let's go ahead and do that. And there it is. And I will check this to make sure we did not damage the rifling. So we'll stick this in here, and it looks pretty good to me. I could see a little bit of carbon in here and stuff, but did not damage the rifling, which is good. And this is kind of bright. I'll try to dim it down so you can see. But we got it out nicely. Everything seems to be okay. It's dirty from shooting, so that's just gunpowder residue. So there's no damage. So that's good. Now, this will be safe to fire again. I'll clean it. I'll run a bore snake through there a few times, and we'll be good to go. So that is how you safely do that. And you have to make sure when you are shooting that you are always safe. And you can see there's no deformity in this at all. This just did not fire, and it got stuck in the barrel. So that is how you safely remove that. So always be safe. And what I was saying is, what you want to do is, like on this type where you can take the barrel right out of the gun, that's the best, because then you could just follow its natural path and knock the stuck bullet out. But this is a 40 caliber, and if this had a squib and then I fired another shot behind it, the gun would blow up, probably, or the barrel would burst, or both. And the charge is always going to try to find the path to least resistance, which is, if the barrel is blocked, it's going to be sideways and backwards. So there have been instances where people have done their own home rolled, I call it, home loading, and they load something incorrectly, and it's a hot load, and then they fire, and even without a squib, it can actually shoot the firing pin right out the back. I saw a picture of a guy that had a firing pin sticking out of his eyeball in the emergency room. It was right in his eyeball. Obviously, he lost his eye. So you do not want to do that. Respect what you're doing out there and realize the power these have and how dangerous they are always. So that's that with that. Hope this helps you, and always be safe and pay attention to what's going on. And I know sometimes, like I have a Ruger Mini 14, and you're rapid firing, you might not be able to catch a squib fast enough. But hopefully if something like that happens, you'll have an ejection issue, and it'll just stop firing on its own because it didn't have enough firepower to kick the shell out. So that's another way with a rifle that can tell you that you've had a squib or a misfire. Always take a second if you have something where you're shooting and it just stopped shooting for some reason. You don't know why. Bullet didn't eject. Maybe the firing sounds soft. Just stop shooting no matter what you're shooting. And this actually happened to me today too with a shotgun, believe it or not. That never happens with a shotgun, and it was shot. Bird shot in it. So that wasn't a squib, but what happened was, is it had a deformed shell, And when the shell went to load into the, to get chambered, it got bent a little bit because it was already weakened from manufacturing. So there was a defect in the shell and it stayed stuck in there. It wouldn't eject. So when I pulled it out, it was kind of bent. And so, you know, there's always things that happen. That's the first time that ever happened to me with shotgun shells. And so just always be wary. That's it. So anyway, this is J-Bo from YouTube. Hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope it helps.